folks. My name is Tanya Moret, and I am the Training and Consultation Supervisor for Lincoln Intermediate Unit. And I see we've got a good group here today. We're going to talk about open educational resources. First thing, before we go on, I want to honor the fact that the LearnOn site that you found out about this webinar through and all of the resources that are on it are truly a collaborative effort of the Educational Technology Division, Special Ed Division, and Educational Services Division. And so that group of folks are listed here as well as their email addresses. And it is a labor of love that is being produced in the background and is ever changing. So you always want to make sure that you're checking out the bottom of the homepage on the LearnOn site, because we are constantly updating it. In this new age of online learning, we are going to enact some Zoom webinar meeting norms. And so because of that, your microphone and camera have been disabled. But since our numbers are kind of small, we decided to allow the chat function. But your video and your microphone have been disabled. You can still use the Q&A to post questions, but since we're a small group, you can also post them in the chat and we'll keep an eye on them. Just remember, if you post questions in the Q&A, when we respond to them via text, everyone will be able to see the responses. If you want to, I thought I took that one out. You're not going to be able to raise your hand if you'd like to use your microphone because we've disabled that. Okay. Be sure that you wait around after we close the Zoom webinar. You will receive an automatic link to complete information so that you can receive your Act 48 credit. Speaking of Act 48 credit, you'll be redirected at the end of each webinar, but in order to complete it, you will need to provide your PPID. Sorry if you are here from another state. This is for Pennsylvania educators, public educators only. All of the webinars that we have been recording since March 30th, and we've been doing this every day on the top of the hour from 9 a.m. to 2:30. We've recorded all of the webinars and all of the slide decks. So if you want to access them, you can do that at this link. We've pushed out a copy of the slide deck for you, and I saw a couple folks join, and so they probably won't be able to see the slide deck. So here it is again in case anybody wants it. And also, as I mentioned, the LearnOn website has a ton of resources to support you in this new online endeavor. As we move to online learning, all of the schools are crafting their continuity of education plan. And one of the things that usually had been referenced for students with disabilities under Chapter 14 takes on a bit of new meaning. That idea of a free and appropriate public education now applies to all online instruction as well. So as we're thinking about creating our learning opportunities for students, whether they are planned instruction or they are enrichment and review, we constantly want to plan for purposefully and carefully how are we going to be able to get every student access. As you are here today to learn about open educational resources and you plan to use them in your instruction, please remember, less is more. Really want to prioritize that which is most important, and remember balance. Balance in terms of what the teacher is saying or doing and responsible for, and what the student is saying and doing or responsible for. If you are going to provide a video, keep it short. Make sure that your audience can see your face. I have my face enabled for this presentation. The only reason we would take my face away is if for some reason bandwidth becomes a problem. but limit the length of any videos. Try to do no more than 6 minutes in terms of recording. And like I said earlier, keep it prioritized and balanced. Whenever you're providing any kind of materials to students, as clearly as you can, make sure the learning targets and expectations are outlined clearly, that you have considered how much time it is going to take to complete the task, and that it's organized in a very clear and sequential manner, leaving very little up to guessing on the part of the student so that they understand what is expected of them. As you use our LearnOn website, you will notice that we have tried to model that. In each page that you land on, each page has a series of steps. So it's not just about what are the resources, but how do I use this page most effectively? So getting into the meat of our session, talking about open educational resources. When we're done here, you'll know what those are, so we'll define them, as well as give you a tour of three sites that I think would be very beneficial for you to start. And then also we'll give a little bit of time to thinking about how do we use them? How do we incorporate them into our instruction, or what should we be considering as we do that? So as we look at open educational resources, also referred to as OER, the big thing is they're free. Free is always good, right? And what that means is that they're openly licensed. So you cannot make money off of them, but you can use them for educational purposes, right? And this could be text, not test, I apologize for the typo, media and other digital assets. I didn't spell check this before I presented it, so I apologize. I'll fix that when we post the actual slide deck. The resources support any aspect of the educational process. So you'll find things that help with instruction, help on the part of the learner, get the information, receive it, assess, as well as researching the information. You can find anything that addresses K-12 education, as well as full university courses, complete with everything the student would need to complete the course. So the readings, the videos, the homework assignments, and even the lecture notes. One thing about this OER resources, there are no universal file formats. So you're not going to find everything in a PDF. In fact, as I was kind of exploring the site today, I found something called an ARF. So I don't know if Nicole's listening. She might be able to tell us what an ARF file is. But I had to go and look in my app and try to figure out something that I could use to read it. And it cost me some money, like $1.49. So I didn't buy it, but I think you'll find that there are probably some file formats in there that you're not used to accessing. The first site we're just going to take a tour of is the OER Commons. Oh, Nicole said that is a WebEx file. All right, well, that's a little bit beyond my my expertise, so I appreciate that, Nicole. So OER Commons, I'm going to take you for a tour of this site. Actually, I better not move it because I don't want to lose the ability to share my screen. So we'll start up here. I have actually created a login that allows you to archive the things that you find, allows you to communicate within the site. You don't need to create a login in order to access it, but it is free. It doesn't cost any money, and it's very simple to set up. We'll look at the first landing page. When you're coming and you're trying to find out what is actually here, we'll use the buttons at the top first. So you can search by the type of resource, the type of collection you might be looking for, so topic or type of items, and then who the providers might be. You can, if you know exactly what you're looking for, you can actually start right here and put your filters in. But I took some time and looked through these, right, to see maybe you're looking for a video, or you're looking for an assessment. So you might start with what might be the subject area, or what might be the material type, In fact, I thought I was interested. I took a little bit of time to look at some materials that were called data sets. And so I see that there's 577 results. I'm a data geeky kind of person. And as I was looking down, I thought, I wonder if there's anything related to the government. I'm a former social studies teacher. And so when I put in the search for this, I found all kinds of things. One that really caught my eye was, let's see if now that I've done this, make sure it comes down to it, was data all around the government. And of course, it was pretty high up there, but you can see all of the different resources. Some of them are going to be perhaps a chapter from a book. Some of them might be an article, or they might be a series of assignments, but you can either search by starting with the material type, and you can refine your search at any time. You can come down here. I had started with data set, but maybe I changed my mind. Maybe I want to look at government activities or labs and see if I can find something instead. And each time you'll notice that they'll give you a total number of results, but you can refine this search as narrow as you want. Next, another option would be is to look at the collections. So I'm married to a secondary middle school math teacher. I was piqued by this one, Discover the Common Core State Standards Aligned Mathematics. So I clicked on this, and again, this is a group of resources that have been curated and kept together under this heading, Discover CCSS Aligned Mathematics. And again, right now they're showing that there's 22,766 resources, but then I can refine it by education level. And since he teaches middle school, I could come in here and I could start to drill down. I can look at the language, I can look at the subject area, I can even, because this is Common Core State Standards, I can organize this by the Common Core or even the Pennsylvania Core. So that's something that would be beneficial as you're trying to find lessons that are all together, all encompassing for your students around some of the concepts you may have already taught or that you're getting ready to teach. You can search the material via the standards. The last one I'm going to show you right here is the provider. So almost all of the professional organizations are listed here. So you've got AASL. I thought, well, I wonder what Pennsylvania organizations might be here. So I looked under P for Pennsylvania, didn't find any, well, I found Penn State, so we've got those, PBS, and I was interested in the primarysource.org website as a historian, so I was looking at that. So provider is another way that you can search. Now, hubs are kind of just what they sound like. It may be similar to a collection, but it's a way of organizing the resources into a common category, common characteristics. And the one that has been probably most helpful most recently is the K-12 remote learning. And basically what they've done is they have organized these by way of level. So elementary, middle, high, and then by provider. So you can look at those, and these are resources that are designed to meet your teaching and learning needs for remote learning. So since that's what we're all kind of working on right now, that would be a good hub to explore. And there are other ones. You can choose to see all of the hubs. You can access any of them. These are not the same as groups. So groups are something else, and groups, sometimes there are closed groups, sometimes there are open groups. That's the next tab. I had looked at the, wait till it comes up. I had looked for PAIU or I looked under P to see what might be, if there were any Pennsylvania groups. And you can search, you can actually start your own group. Some of them are closed, some of them are open, and you can just click to join the group and see if you can access it. There are some other things in this site that are pretty cool to look at. You can create your own hub. So you could start one, you could start your own microsite. But the thing I want to mention about OER Commons is that these, whatever resource is loaded, when you go and load a resource, so for instance, if I were going to go back into resources, I was looking at some resources in mathematics. When you choose a resource, so for instance, 100th day school activities, if this has been reviewed in any way or vetted, you will see it on the right-hand side. So this one has been endorsed by WDE, which is, I'm not 100% sure. Oh, Wyoming Department of Education. So that's who's endorsed this site. And that's good to know, because then it's the equivalent of being peer reviewed. Not all of the resources have been reviewed, and when they haven't, you might see something over here on the right hand side that says, please, it might be a notice to the creator or submission. It might say something like, please connect or align to standards, or please review for proper citation. So you will see, and then you can see about, you know, how it's been used and if it's been evaluated and what people think about the quality of the resource. So this is a pretty dynamic site. And again, these are all free. And when you log in, one of the options that you can take advantage of is you can actually connect some of these to your Google Classroom. So by logging in, you can, there's an option for support to add to your Google Classroom site. And if you need to know how to do anything, there's a nice PD section that will kind of walk you through a lot of the topics. You can see there's all kinds of resources. You could probably lose yourself for an afternoon just kind of taking some time and working through this. I think this is very different from those laundry lists of free resources kinds of things we get, because a lot of time and energy has gone into categorizing this site in a way to make it searchable through multiple entry points. Now, this OER Commons, for the most part, is a K-12, although there are I shouldn't say that, there's quite a few universities in here that are offering content. And so I'm going to take a minute and take you to another one that is also offering content that's more in line for our secondary educators. So next on our slide deck, I want to talk about massive open online courses. So the difference between the open educational resources and the MOOCs, as we kind of refer to them, is that the MOOCs are more at the course level. So an open educational resource might be a unit activity, it might be a lesson, it's a piece of the curriculum. There might also be courses, so I don't want to discredit that. And there's also links to MOOCs. But if you're really looking for a course, a full course, two places that you can go are the MOOC list searchable database, which I have pulled up. It takes a minute. I will tell you, I had a little bit of problem logging on with this because when I tried to log on, there were some security issues. But I can tell you that any one of these links up here are really just another gateway to more databases. Some of the MOOCs, they're all free, but if they are the full course from start to finish, but if you have a student who would like to have record of having completed the coursework, or you want that coursework to be looked at by an educator, there could be a cost incurred for that activity. So it really depends on whether or not it's love of learning and just for the sake of learning, or if there's a means to an end. There's also an option for digital badging in some of these courses. So really, you just kind of want to shop around. And one that I pulled up was a free online Ivy League course. There's 438 courses here, and you can see, this is from the University of Pennsylvania, Princeton, Harvard, etc. And you can see these are actual courses that, for the most part, they're self-paced. Students go in and they work through the book. The book is digital, the lectures are online, all of the assignments. And you can see over here on the left-hand side, there's 112 business courses, 103 humanities courses, etc. As a former educator of students identified as gifted, I really thought that MOOCs, also sometimes referred to another searchable database as Coursera, I really thought these were an opportunity for some of our more advanced learners to supplement or enrich their learning. Students could opt out, could test out, not opt out, could get credit by examination for a course, and then often they could come to something like this and find the next course in the sequence. MIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, all of the big name universities have online free courseware. So you can either use something like one of these searchable databases, or you can actually go to the university itself and look up looking at the university, do a search for MOOCs or free online courses. Now, obviously, students don't get the credits, right? So it's learning for the sake of learning. But if you've got a student who wants to brush up on calculus before they hit freshman year in the fall, this would be a really good option, especially if they already have their, they get their class schedule fairly early. And a lot of times what those original first year gen ed courses are going to look like, especially some of our more advanced students who have had some of the advanced math further in their past because they were learning at such an advanced pace. So I would be remiss if I didn't finish up with just talking a little bit about, okay, now you've found where these resources are. Some of them are in smaller manageable chunks and some of them are in larger course chunks. No matter what, I want to caution you from just pulling something and using it, without having a chance to think about what might the learner get from this. So the phrase I like to refer to is adapt, don't adopt, right? Especially if you're talking about some of these smaller chunks, smaller curriculum chunks. We have given you some recommendations. We've given you a lesson plan template referred to as OREO, using the OREO method, as well as a weekly template for teachers to help to plan for instruction for the week. So if you find a resource that you find that you want to turn around to your students, really taking the time to think through that resource and chunking it out for the students. And don't forget that you want to consider all learners. And on our LearnOn website, we have a button, Consider All Learners, where we give you some best practices and some considerations for both our students with disabilities, our English learners, and our learners identified as gifted. So these are not make and take or find and take kinds of things. You always want to look through them and really think about how you're going to turn them around in your online environment. Now, our time is up. I wanted to include just a couple extra slides in here so that you have some links. I really focused on the curriculum materials, but in addition, we've got some free digital literacy and audiobooks, and I've put the ages in here, as well as some math printables and some printables for writing that you can access on your own. So don't forget that there are continued materials that are being uploaded every day in the LearnOn website. And please do us a favor and let us know what you think about this session. I have included Nicole's already beat me to it. She took care of the Act 48 form and the evaluation. So there you have the links if you want them, if you want to grab them before you leave. I do see that there's a question, so I'm going to pull it up. I haven't seen anything in the chat, so if I did, I apologize. Could I show the last two slides again? Absolutely. So the printables, is that what you're talking about, the printables? You have access to this slide deck. Nicole and I have dropped the link to the slide deck in there. So when you click on the slide deck, if you go to these slides, all of those are live links and you'll be able to access them. So great question. Any other questions from the group? I really appreciate you joining us today and taking time out of your busy schedule. And again, I just want to thank you for all the work that you are doing to help make the lives of the students of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania better, because I know that this is a trying time and your efforts as an educator are absolutely appreciated. So please know that. If you have any questions, when you go to the slide deck after I fix all my typos, my email address is going to be there if you have any questions. If you think of any later, because that's how I always do it. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.